Hey everybody, and welcome in to the second part of our roster breakdown series where we talk about the 26 names that Mauricio Pochettino called in to the 2026 World Cup. Welcome back to the T26 channel where we talk about all things related to the US men's national team and sometimes steal my wife's shoes. Again, she found out, so we need something new to steal from her and put on the table back there. Without further ado, let's get into part 2 of our series here and talk about our wingbacks and our midfielders. Getting into our wingbacks, I think we have some really good depth and ability here, but moving into our midfield, our central defensive midfield, we feel thin. That's my initial assessment here. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But starting with our wingbacks, we have Antonee Robinson of Fulham, Sergino Dest of PSV, Joe Scally of Borussia Monchengladbach, Tim Weah of Olympique Marseille, and Max Arfsten of the Columbus Crew. And guys, like I said, I think that our wingbacks, they provide us a lot of depth and a lot of flexibility. You'll notice, first and foremost, that I have Tim Weah included as a wingback here and not an attacking player, because truthfully, I think that's where he fits best and where he's going to see the field for us. But we're going to start on our left side and talk about Antonee Robinson of Fulham. And A-Rob has been a mainstay in the U.S. men's national team rosters since the beginning of the 2022 cycle. Robinson, he's coming into his second World Cup at just 28 years old. He's got 52 appearances, 4 goals, and 9 assists for us. And honestly, guys, he is one of the most important players on this roster. Not only is he a very high ceiling left back, left wing back in the Premier League for the U.S. men's national team, but he offers us a lot on both sides of the ball. He's got a very high work rate. He's got great pace, good awareness, good 1v1 defending. He's a good crosser of the ball and can get on the end of crosses himself. So A-Rob, he offers us so much on both sides of the ball. He's almost irreplaceable. And on our left side, if he's not there, I think we're in trouble because we can shift Sergino Dest over, but he is a little bit more comfortable on the right side. We can shift Joe Scally over, but he's also a little bit more comfortable on the right side, doesn't have quite that offensive ability that A-Rob has. Or we can look at Max Arfsten, who truthfully I think is more of a winger, not a wing back, because we've seen he can contribute offensively, but not so much on the defensive side of things when the game gets a little bit faster and elevates. So ultimately, Antonee Robinson, he is incredibly important for us going forward, and I'm really excited to see what he can do and how we can use him to accelerate our game against these high-quality opponents in the World Cup. Staying on the left side, we are going to talk about Max Arfsten, who I believe Mauricio Pochettino sees as the next man up in that left wing back role. Max Arfsten has been playing very well with the Columbus Crew lately. He's scoring, he's assisting, he's contributing, but at that left midfield position, not so much as a left back or left wing back. So again, his offensive capability is very, very solid in MLS, but his defense is even being overlooked there. So I have concerns at the international level. Arfsten, he's really broken into the U.S. men's national team picture in the last 12 months. He's got 18 appearances at just 25 years old with 1 goal and 5 assists. Again, he's solid offensively. He can create, he can pass, he can move, he can finish, but defensively he does have a tendency to fall asleep. So I'm really hoping that this extended World Cup and this week between games allows players like Antonee Robinson, who are far and away the number one, to recover. If we need a late goal, maybe Arfsten comes in. It's not my first choice, but again, he is a guy who can create and he likes to get forward and overload a side. Moving over to our right side, we have Sergino Dest of PSV Eindhoven. And Dest is moving into his second World Cup as well. At just 25 years old, Dest has 37 appearances with 2 goals and 6 assists. Dest is a player that I'm incredibly excited to see because he's spent so much time over the last 12 months injured. And unfortunately, that's kind of hampered him into not being exactly what we think he can be, right? He's a great creator. He's unpredictable. He's got flair and flash and style, and we see that on the pitch. I just wish he had more time to develop that chemistry with the players around him. Dest is a guy who I think is just about as irreplaceable in these first 2 games as you can get. We're going to need to unlock defenses, and we're going to need to have creativity and ball dominance. Dest is a guy that gives us that. Beyond him in the depth chart, we have Tim Weah, who is very solid defensively. He can contribute offensively, but he's not the guy to unlock a defense. He's not the guy to make things happen. He's a little bit more one-dimensional in getting forward and finishing. We have Joe Scally, very defensive-minded. I love that about him, but we're not going to need that in our first 2 games. And then we have Alex Freeman, who is going to be wing-back, center-back kind of variation. Again, he's not the guy to break down a defense. Sergino Dest can do that on the dribble. He can pass through you. He can move. He's going to contribute in a lot of different ways. We need to be very, very excited about what he brings to the table. Going down the depth chart, we have Joe Scally of Borussia Monchengladbach, who at 23 years old is going to his 2nd World Cup as well. Scally has 24 caps with the U.S. men's national team and 0 goals and 0 assists. 24 caps, 24 appearances, it sounds low, but truthfully, that's because he's been behind Sergino Dest. He is, again, very defensively minded. And when we're playing against teams in CONCACAF or in these first 2 World Cup matches, we're playing against teams that are going to concede possession and bunker. That's not Joe Scally's strong suit. We're going to get the most out of him protecting a lead, playing a team that wants to be ball dominant, and he will help us win possession back. Scally's proven that he can do it against some of the best players in the world, as he's a consistent starter in the Bundesliga. But his appearance number is a little bit lower because it's not exactly what we need in our day-to-day matches in CONCACAF. And finally, our last wingback is going to be Tim Weah of Olympique Marseille. And Weah, like many of these players, is going into his 2nd World Cup, and he's only 26 years old. Weah has 49 appearances for the U.S. men's national team with 7 goals and 9 assists. He, under Greg Berhalter in the 2022 cycle, was playing as a right winger, and his responsibility was to cut inside and get a shot off or pump in crosses. Right? We built a lot down the right side and funneled in crosses under Greg Berhalter. Under Mauricio Pochettino and in his club life, Weah has converted to a wingback pretty heavily. And so that position still allows him to get up and down the field and contribute offensively, but also has solidified his efforts defensively and increased his vision in the game. So Weah is a guy who's going to offer us a lot of versatility moving forward, whether it's on the ball, whether it's defensively. I foresee Weah getting a lot of minutes this World Cup. Just depends on where he's going to be positioned. Personally, I think we get the most out of him as a wingback. Moving into our central defensive midfielders, we have Tyler Adams of Bournemouth, Weston McKennie from Juventus, Sebastian Berhalter from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and Christian Roldan from Seattle Sounders. And guys, I mentioned that our wingbacks, they feel very deep. There's a lot of talent there, a lot of guys that we can rely on. Our central defensive midfielders, we're thin. We're very, very thin when it comes to this part of the lineup. We have Tyler Adams, who is a mainstay with Bournemouth in the Premier League. Very, very solid player, very solid 6, right? A central defensive midfielder to protect that back line. We have Weston McKennie, who is coming off of his best season with Juventus. And truthfully, he's a jack of all trades. He can play wherever you need him to on the pitch, and he's going to give you a good performance. Whether he's a central defensive midfielder, an attacking midfielder, a winger, a creator, a striker. We've even seen him play as a wingback for club. I don't really want to see him there. I think he's best served as, a more attacking midfielder, but the way that Mauricio Pochettino has built out this lineup, I think it's got to be Tyler and Weston sitting next to each other. And truthfully, I've been asking for this pairing for quite some time when projecting our starting 11, specifically for our first 2 group stage matches, because we are just needing to create as much offense as possible in these first 2 matches. We're going to sit against teams that are going to give us the ball and defend for their lives. We need as much offense firepower and creativity on the pitch at all times as we can have. And that means that Weston, I think, drops back from that attacking midfield role to sit next to Tyler Adams as a 6, but he still pushes forward a little bit more. That then allows us to have another creative attacker underneath Balogun and Pulisic, right? So we're thin here because the drop-off between Tyler and Weston and then Sebastian and Christian Roldan is steep. Club form, country form, it's all there. We do not have a sufficient backup if Tyler or Weston goes down, gets in foul trouble, whatever it may be. I'm rooting for every single guy on this roster, but if Berhalter and Roldan end up getting significant minutes and we have to rely on them to protect a lead, I'm worried. So, a little bit of a breakdown getting into our players. Tyler was our captain in 2022. This is his second World Cup. He's just 27 years old, and he was our captain at the 2022 World Cup as well. This man is a leader. He's going to push everybody physically, mentally, vocally. He is going to be the guy that drives our team forward. Tyler Adams is a pit bull. He loves to go and hunt the ball and win the ball back. He is a perfect disruptor to any counterattack, any offensive stability on the other team. Tyler can break up any kind of possession. He can win the ball back. He'll put in a crunching tackle and set the tone for our guys. We need him on the field at all times during this tournament, not only for his mentality and ability, but because of the drop-off behind him. Looking at his partner, Weston McKennie, who's also coming into his second World Cup. He's just 27. No. Now we look to his partner, Weston McKennie, who is going to be, I think next to him in that dual pivot 6 pairing in front of the back line, but Weston's going to be pushing forward a little bit more. Weston comes into his second World Cup at just 27 years old with 64 appearances for the national team, and he has 12 goals and 7 assists. You can see right there his offensive ability is too great to keep him protecting a back line. Weston loves to get forward. He's got this uncanny ability to arrive into the opponent's box late and put the ball in the back of the net. He's dangerous on set pieces. He can help us create. He's done it with the U.S. men's national team. He's done it with Juventus. He can make things happen on the ball. He's got a good eye, and he's got all the ability in the world. Weston's a player I'm really looking out for because he was the driving factor in any success that Juventus had this season. We're going to need him to be that same guy with the U.S. men's national team if we have any hopes of making a run in this World Cup. Up next, we have Sebastian Berhalter from the Vancouver Whitecaps. And Berhalter is coming into his first World Cup at just 25 years old. He really made a name for himself starting with last year's Gold Cup. He just has 11 appearances with the national team with 1 goal and 3 assists. Berhalter, he's another guy that I think he's just a tone setter, right? He's got all the fight. He's got all the grit. He's got the mentality, but the ability is what I think is just holding him back, right? He wants to win. He's got all the fight and all the mentality to win, but he's not quite at the level of a Tyler Adams or a Weston McKennie. So, again, I'm a little bit concerned if we see him or Christian Roldan have significant minutes. But Berhalter does have a very, very, very redeeming quality in his set-piece delivery. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason he's here, but I think that is a reason why he's here over another player like Aidan Morris or Tanner Tessman, because he can deliver a very good cross, a very good set piece. He has a great goal. His only goal for the national team is from a set piece. His assists coming off of set pieces. Berhalter is a guy who can put the ball where he wants it. So if he's seeing minutes, I would say it's going to be a late game sub, and he's on to help us create through set pieces. And finally, rounding out our central defensive midfielders, we have Christian Roldan from the Seattle Sounders. And Roldan somehow is coming into his second World Cup at age 30. He has 45 appearances for the U.S. men's national team with 0 goals and 5 assists. Roldan he's the locker room guy. That's the best thing I can say. He apparently is great for the vibes. He holds the team accountable and he pushes other players. But I don't think he offers very much on the pitch. And I'm very, very worried that he's going to see significant minutes in spite of that fact. Ultimately, again, every locker room needs a glue guy, and that's true, but there's plenty of other guys that have great personalities that are going to offer us something on the field here. 45 appearances for a player that was an attacking mid with 0 goals and just 5 assists, where 2 of those came against Australia in November. That's a very low output. Again, I am behind every single one of these guys wholeheartedly, and I want them to succeed no matter what because we are behind the team at this point. But what I'm saying is that his lack of ability and awareness on the ball is concerning if we are going to have to rely heavily on him behind a Tyler Adams or a Weston McKennie. All right, guys, that's everything for part 2 of our series. Stay tuned for part 3, where we talk about our attacking midfielders and our strikers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.